Hello, everybody, and welcome to Indonesia's New Energy Paradigm, a digital series brought to you by Enlit Asia and our partner MKI. This series is sponsored by PLN, and this episode is sponsored by Uniper. Today's episode will look at PLN's digital future. This is the third in a 7-part series featuring exclusive interviews with senior PLN representatives. And as with last week's episode, we'll begin with a pre-recorded interview, which will be followed by an in-depth panel discussion featuring speakers from PLN, Icon Plus, EGAT, Uniper, and it's going to be moderated by Lim Shi Shung, Managing Director and Southeast Asia Utility Lead at Accenture. Now, while this interview is pre-recorded, the panel discussion is live, and we want to make this as interactive as possible. So we encourage you to ask questions by typing in the box on the right-hand side of your screen. Now, we may not be able to answer all of your questions today, but we'll make sure and make every effort to address as many of these questions as we can. In the handout section on the right side of your screen, you will find some more information about our digital series and how you can be involved. We'll now begin our interview. I'd like to introduce Syamsul Huda, Director of PLN's Business for Sulawesi, Papua, Maluku, and Nusa Tenggara region. And after the interview, our moderator for today's discussion will begin the live panel. Welcome.
Hi, Pak Michael. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, and thank you for joining us. If I could, I'd like to begin the interview by asking you, we'll ask you to outline for us the PLN's digitalization strategy. What does it encompass, and what objectives are you hoping to achieve?
Yeah, we implement digitalization strategy from upstreams to downstreams of our services. Our energy supply chain from power generation, transmission, distribution to retail or customer have been improved so that its services become faster, more reliable and efficient in our electricity production and business model. For us, the main objective of digitalization is developing business processes that meet with new ecosystem and industry so that PLN become lean to achieve cost saving and efficiency in terms of supply side. From demand side, digitalization has helped us in increasing engagement with our customer, achieving the better customer experiences.
Okay, thanks for that. Can you provide us with some feedback on PLN's smart meter, such as automatic meter reading rollout, and some feedback on as to how this has progressed to date?
PLN started to install EMR since 2000. Nowadays, we have installed over 261,000 meters around Indonesia, especially for premium large customer, mostly industrial customer. The objective primarily is to achieve real-time metering of energy usage. Based on the real-time data, customer will have their energy consumption figures, so they can analyze on daily basis to optimize their business operation to be more efficient. This program is running well, and we have been receiving good feedback from our customer. Even some of them require to move forward to further step by installing EMI, Advanced Metering Infrastructure. EME implementation is still on preparation, and the progress are on the right track. Right now, we do proof of concept for certain proven technologies that already implemented in other energy company. Hopefully, we can implement this technology by 2021.
In light of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, this has pushed digitalization to the spotlight, but has this changed the direction of PLN's digitalization strategy in any way? Have you reprioritized any of your projects or reallocated funding to support additional digitalization?
Yes, we know that pandemic is an unprecedented event and hit all around the world and business. None of us in the world has ready, and each of business has to tackle by their own way. no single recipes. In Indonesia, COVID-19 has made slow down almost every sector and business, including energy and utility industry. Our growth of electricity sales is suddenly decreasing start from March. After the 2 months earlier, it looked promising. Nevertheless, some of our digitalization programs are still on schedule for implementation, such as new version of the PLN mobile and e-mobility digital platform for electric vehicle infrastructure. Indeed, some programs which need huge investment have been postponed, such as AMI and smart microgrid at some islands.
I see. So could you share with us a few lessons learned on the digital projects that PLN has undertaken, and maybe some of the things you would have done differently, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, digitalization indeed have changed some of our practices. The most progressive digitalization we have undertaken is on power generation. We have developed advanced analytic data system at some power plant in Jawa Bali grid system since few years ago through our subsidiary companies, PGB and Indonesia Power. PGB implemented REMDOC and Indonesia Power developed REOC. The analytical data has proven well to increase the power plant reliability and reducing the power generation cost. Some of operator works have been changed. New SOPs are introduced. From this power plant digitalization project, we learned that the key success factor for digitalization is data and asset management.
I see. In light of that, how are PLN's digitalization efforts working to support bigger digitalization efforts by the government and other stakeholders?
We have strong cooperation with other stakeholders for putting digitalization on Indonesia utility grid system, especially with Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. For example, with full support from Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, some smart grid program in Java Island has been approved as one of national strategic program. We also get support from international agencies such as IEA, International Energy Agency, USAID, ADB, and some other to develop smart grid program in PLN.
So how do you see digitalization impacting PLN's business processes? Which areas do you see, where do you see the maximum benefit to the organization in adopting digital technologies?
Of course, the impact is big. Power utility business is a business that close with and rely on technology. Digitalization on power utility is conducted by 3 ways: process automation, digital enablement, and advanced analytics. The first one, process automation, it help us to make our process, both production and business process, to be lean and faster. The second one, digital enablement. Digitalization is also enabling new level of performance. For example, by using automated drone backed by cognitive capabilities for inspecting network in the field during maintenance. It helps to reduce time and cost for maintenance. At the last advanced analytic that will make digitalization go to the next stage. The system will be smarter and more resilient. At the end of the point of view, it should increase our business performance, not only reducing production costs, but also harvesting efficiency and sustainability along the electricity supply chain and industry.
Right, and so how do you believe digitalization will influence relationships between PLN and your customers, your employees, and as well as your ability to manage assets?
The digitalization provides us a new experience for customer engagement within personalized and data-driven experience through such IoT application like PLN Mobile. It also opens new opportunity when PLN wants to deliver new beyond electricity services, and increase custom experiences. The digitalization, as we acquired best practices in regional Sulawesi, give us employee experience in workforce, embracing culture like remote working, digital document, and so on. It also encourages employees for collaborating with artificial intelligence and machine through smartphone or other devices. We believe digitalization will make our operation more accurate and efficient, and our business process to be smarter through process automation. By connecting asset and grid optimization analysis, we focus to optimize our inventory management, to increase our cost saving, improve our power quality.
So do you anticipate any threats, both from a business perspective and a cybersecurity perspective?
The main threat of digitalization on our grid and business system is cybersecurity attack. We have developed high encrypted data system to deal with it. In addition, we continuously run regular technical meetings with national cybersecurity to anticipate these challenges.
And so can you outline for us the role of the international community in supporting PLN's digitalization strategy? What expertise and technologies are you specifically looking to bring to Indonesia?
Basically, the supporting we hope from the international community consists of two components. First is technical capability building. It hopefully can be fulfilled by such international agencies such as IEA, SIGRE, SHIRT, and others. The second one is funding support. It can be conducted by such financial global institutions such as EDB, World Bank, Asian Bank, IDB, USAID, and other G2G grants.
Okay, good. So for my last question, your experiences and sharing about digitalization in PLN has been very interesting. So how optimistic is PLN that you can adopt a big data ecosystem where all strategic data are integrated and can be analyzed? And what will assist digital decision making in all PLN's business operations?
Right. Big data analysis is necessity for today's business, not exceptional for PLN. We are now improving business performance based on data. We have started the first implementation in region Sulawesi, especially in distribution and marketing area. We use the big data we have to find new opportunity and improvement. In distribution area, implementation of big data analysis in distribution line has made us developing map of urgency that we should handle. By using asset management, we made visualization about map of electricity burnout. We can call it ENS calendar. So now our managers on the field are able to figure out how our energy has been distributed to the end and where are the losses along the distribution lines. Our marketing department is now able to make analysis so that we understand who customer that be in debt and where they usually pay their bills. By using our big data, we can identify customer behavior in terms of their electricity consumption and payment. We can monitor the monthly sales growth until sub-district level, so it can be used by local government if they need it in regional development. Having succeeded with the implementation in Sulawesi region, we are now ready to roll out this implementation to other PLN regional business.
Well, Mr. Huda, thank you very much for your time. I really enjoyed speaking with you. I think we overcame a few technical glitches, but we've got this done. So thanks for your time. And I hope everyone has a terrific panel discussion.
I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that you've had the pleasure of seeing my mouth move and no words coming out. It's something my husband has dreamt about. So good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us for the live discussion part of this webinar. Unfortunately, our advertised moderator was unable to join us today, and I am very pleased to be able to stand in for him. My name is Claire Falkvane, and I am the editor of Smart Energy International. Now, as Michael alluded to in his beginning, digital technologies are changing the face of the power industry, but a coherent strategy is required to fully capitalize on the myriad of benefits that digitalization offers. Now, the interview obviously outlined where some of the PLN optimization benefits may exist and where they particularly see these happening in future operations. However, digitalizing PLN will have significant benefits not only for the Indonesian power grid, it also does provide a roadmap and an opportunity for other experts within the region to utilize some of their expertise. So our panel of experts at the moment are going to highlight how some of these digital technologies can improve PLN's operations, current and future, provide greater efficiency and understand the demands of their systems. We have a great lineup of speakers. First of all, we have Pete Davies, who is the Senior Vice President, Digital Engineering Solutions from Uniper. Evie Hariadi, who is the Director of Utility and Technology Assessment for MK1. Surat Tanderdet, Chief Enterprise Architect for EGAT. Ignatius Rendroyoko, who is the Director, Electricity and Wholesale Business from PT Indonesia Comnets Plus, and Johannes Sikuris Lasmono, who is the EVP Operations for the Sulawesi region. Gentlemen, thank you so much to all of you for joining us this morning. We are absolutely thrilled to have you with us. I have asked each one of our speakers this morning to present or to prepare a short positioning statement. And I'm going to start, Pete, by handing over the microphone to you and giving you the opportunity to talk about digitalization and some of the opportunities that it is going to present.
Wonderful. Thank you, Claire. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. So Pete Davis, I work for Uniper. As Claire said, I'm responsible for what we call digital engineering solutions. I've worked in the power sector for 11 years now, maybe 12. Prior to that, I worked in the pharmaceutical sector, and I've always worked on the boundary between the utility business and the IT side. Now, Uniper, some of you might know or might not know, but by way of introduction, we own about 35 gigawatts of generating technology based all over mainland Europe and Russia, and we provide engineering services to fellow owners and operators throughout the world. So all that expertise, all that knowledge we've gained in Europe, particularly with regards to the energy transition, increase in renewables, we bring that knowledge and support around the world to similar or fellow owners and operators. We've got pretty much all the main OEMs in our fleet, so we're experienced with regards to all OEMs and remain independent of the OEMs and have expertise in nearly all generating types, and we've also been playing in the digitalization sector. I mean, playing's the wrong word. We've been fairly serious in the digitalization sector for about 25 years. So even 30 years ago, we started building our own thermodynamic modeling tool sets. 25 years ago, we did vibration monitoring of the main shaft line. 20 years ago, we started doing complex market modeling, and then 15 years ago, we did holistic risk management. So not just financial, but safety, economic, procedural, engineering risks. 10 years ago, we started doing advanced condition monitoring. So the whole plant monitoring, not just the main shaft line, but every component in the asset, which is important because the balance of plant is often the part that gets forgotten because it's cheaper, but in terms of reliability and opportunity and the money, it becomes the most critical. And then 5 years ago, we started doing a lot of maintenance optimization. And 2 years ago, we brought that all into one platform that we call the analytics platform. So a long pedigree and history in digitalization. We as Uniper have used it on our assets over the last 25, 30 years, continually to gain value. And now we do that not just for our own assets, but for many others around the world. And we monitor about just under 100 gigawatts of assets at this moment in time. That's me, Claire.
Thanks very much, Pete. I appreciate that. Ignatius, I'm going to put the spotlight on you for the moment.
Yes. Okay. Firstly, the question is about how or why we have to adapt. We have to do adoption on digitalization era. There are numbers of important factors that drive utilities to do or to enter the digital adoption on the digital era. The first is the changing in customer expectation, because mostly the millennials customers now tend to do everything in simple way, cost efficient, and they are tends to choose the easiest how we can do something. For example, the customers, electricity customer right now no longer tolerate any errors, poor performance of the utilities, outages, and slow services. So that is one of the important factors that why utilities have to move or to adopt digitalization. The second thing is the challenges in industrial era, because now maybe the market is going quite bigger. The customer is improved 1,000 numbers, and also the challenging in the fossil fuel, the energy is very limited. So that's why industry, including utilities, have to find out something more in digital to survive in the business. So they have to do digitalization. And one more thing is because of the regulation is changing so much, because we have to put the old regulations back, and we have to adapt in the new regulation for the new era. That's it from me about what are the factors that driving utilities to adoption in digitalization. Thank you, Claire.
I think it's a very interesting point that you raised there about the fact that customers' expectations change.
Yeah.
And of course, they have a lot less, I guess, forgiveness when it comes to services not working.
Yeah.
They expect everything.
They no longer tolerate any errors, any poor performance.
Yeah, it's a very good point that. Surat, I'm going to ask you if you could weigh in on that. You obviously come from Thailand, and perhaps you could share some of your insights with us, please. I think Surat might be on mute. If I could maybe just ask somebody on our technical side to just unmute him, please. I tell you what, Surat, while you are getting help with your mute issue, I'm going to ask Johannes if he could perhaps weigh in on that question in the meantime.
My sound loud?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. Thanks, Johannes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Claire. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. The digital has changed the way of our business today. Data can be collected easily from many sources. Many kinds of sensor can be implemented to collect data from power plant or network system so that it could be used to feed data for condition-based maintenance and also could work as the early warning system to improve reliability and reduce costs. Not only from the sensor, data could be gathered from other applications such as customer information system, automatic meter reading, call center, etc. Once every single application have big data, it could be consolidated into big data platform for data mining process so that it could be used for advanced analytics to seek insight and get a new opportunity. Furthermore, big data can be used for decision support system to support decision maker both strategic and tactical levels. PLN has just launched transformation program with 4 core pillar strategies. Those are green, lean, customer focus, and innovation. Digitalization is one of the enablers. The program has 20 breakthroughs, where 14 of them are enabled by digital. One of the breakthrough is digitally enabled distribution excellence, which is focused on reducing O&M costs, reducing distribution losses, and improve reliability. Asset management, part of our reducing O&M cost program, has been implementing in Sulawesi since last year. It changed the way to manage our asset from time-based maintenance to condition-based maintenance. The inspection, for example, have reduced visual inspection and changed to many kinds of sensors, such as infrared and ultrasonic sensors. It could improve the quality, the speed, and the cost of inspection. Moreover, because of the form of the data is digitally, it could be stored into the big data platform and consolidated with other previous big data, such as automatic meter reading, enterprise asset management, call center, customer information system, etc. Now, because of the big data, we have a decision support system. We can combine data from customer technical and billing system. It can be used to analyze which location have a big bad debt or more outage. The barrier adapting digitally across region are the readiness of infrastructure and the culture change. The geographic condition of Indonesia with thousands of islands cause variety infrastructure conditions in one and other place. Due to the efficiency reasons, in some places do not need digitalization because it will costly. The other barrier is culture change, especially in the transition stage. This is the critical stage because when we cannot pass this stage, it potentially make project fail. Effort from top management is a must. Top management should encourage people with a new culture. For example, daily morning meeting, which is a daily meeting that discuss outstanding activities before going to the field. We also improve analytical thinking capabilities through weekly meeting. During weekly meeting, engineers evaluate some indicator and undertake root cause problem solving supported by advanced analytic tools. In doing so, PLN already see the benefit from this ongoing effort. Based on our experience, it was need levelized while implementing digital enablement. Basic level is the operation level. We create this level through integrated application, business process, and people. If everything worked well at that level, it's time to increase the levelize that digital enabler work to create data-driven culture and the strategic and tactical. That's my opinion, Claire. Thank you.
Johannes, thank you very much. I think the opportunities to drive database decision making, particularly when it comes to cost management and efficiency, is going to be a real game changer for many utilities around the world. And Surat, I believe that we've gotten your audio sorted out. So if I may perhaps ask you if you would like to just give some input into that question about why digitalization is so important, both within PLN, but also across the ASEAN region.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sulatan Tetit from Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand. For the importance of the digitalizations, it's really important for EGAT. EGAT has changed the strategy. We call the EGAT transformations. In the wording of the transformation, we touch in the 3 different areas. The first area is the core business of EGAT. EGAT do the business starting from the generations control center until the transmission. Then in the generation side, we do a project we call the smart power plant, try to insert the new digital technology to improve their productivity in the power plant. And the control center, we do the projects to integrate the renewable integration in the system, because the renewable is the system that did not have much stable, then the control center must be smarter. And for transmission, we have a program we call the grid modernizations. Here is the area of the core business of EGAT. For the support business of EGAT, we have a program starting from the asset management. We try to do the asset management smarter, try to predict the life cycle of the asset. And we have a program for the digital people. We call the digital smart people, try to improve their skill and give them the much competency, particularly in the term of the digitalization. And the last area that we do in our strategy is a new business. Because EGAT do the business in the energy generation and transmission, but in the distribution or retail market, we did not. That is the past. But for the new business of EGAT, we try to be a player in the distribution and the retail market. Then the new business of EGAT, we touch more about the microgrid and beyond the meter. Then finally, EGAT thinks a lot about the digitalization and change the strategy to be smarter with the wording of the EGAT transformation. Okay, thank you.
Surat, thank you very much. And last but not least, Evie, you are going to be speaking next. Unfortunately, Evie has not been able to activate his camera on his computer due to technical and cyber issues, but he is able to share his insights with us via audio. So Evie, last but certainly not least, over to you.
Thank you, Claire. Excuse me, until now, I'm still failed to fix my camera. My voice is clear here?
Yes.
My voice
perfect.
is clear?
You,
okay.
Absolutely perfect.
In the case of digitalization, especially for the case for adoption in utilities such as PLN, in my opinion, is one of the objective of the utility company that the PLN to adopt digitalization is due to the opportunity to open to improve company performance. and also the benefit obtained from the application of technology related to digitalization of the existing business process to be more systemic, efficient business processes from complicated control to more simple control. Implementation digital technology could be in the business process of the field of asset performance management, such as improving asset utilization, improving reliability, and optimizing of maintenance activity. Digitalization can also improve operation performance management through real-time monitoring, the use of more advanced analytical application, and optimization of operation. Digitalization applications such as a big data analysis, especially those related to customer behavior, can create some initiative that increase customer engagement and also open up a new business opportunity. I think some problem and also the main barrier in the implementation of digitalization is related to a big gap in the capability of the human resources. We later implement and also operate the technology and also the variety of PLN customer across the region, especially between urban and rural community. It is necessary to increase the capability of PLN human resources and also educate PLN customer about the convenience offered by the new digitalized technology or business processes. For example, this is not easy to change customer behaviors. PLN customers who usually use payment point as payment outlet and never use bank service are still difficult to move to using new digital technology that involve bank. This example is for the case implementing payment gateway using PLN Mobile. Another barrier is the gap between the existing infrastructures in each region, which also has a various in different systems, which need also various scenarios and challenges to implement digitalization in each system. In port system point of view, for example, PLN have some various systems. One system is strong and interconnected system, such as Jawa Bali. Another is not so strong and interconnected, like a system in Sulawesi. And also still there is an off-grid island system, especially on the east of Indonesia. Of course, each of these systems require a different digitalization implementation roadmap. It will be costly and need a big fund. These two human resources and also capabilities, also variation and the existing system that will become the main barrier to the implementation of digitalization across the regions. That's my opinion, Claire.
Thank you very much. I guess it's sometimes hard to wrap your head around the fact that Indonesia has such a varied topography, and you know, you are effectively doing I guess digitalization across almost what other countries are doing, you know, across their country. You're trying to do within one country itself. So I imagine that that is incredibly difficult. I see that there are quite a number of questions that are coming through, and thank you so much for that, ladies and gentlemen. Just a reminder, if you do want to send any questions for our amazing panel here today, please use the Ask Staff a Question box. We are going to try and get through as many of those questions as what we possibly can today. So Pete, I'm actually going to, if I may, start with a question for you, because it is something that was very briefly touched on, but it is something that I would like perhaps to explore a little bit more, and that's with regards to generation and the implementation of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Why is this not being more widely adopted, particularly in the power generation sector?
Thanks, Ashley. organizer controlled my muting and I couldn't unmute myself. So yeah, with regards to power generation, if we compare that to say the retail side of the energy industry, machine learning and artificial intelligence has certainly been less adopted. And having worked in this sector for the last 12 years and worked with a lot of colleagues who have worked in it for longer, really for me there's three important differences or facets to consider. So the first one is machine learning and artificial intelligence requires huge data sets. If you compare that to a human, humans are really good at low context learning. So let's take, for example, a duck-billed platypus. I'm sure there's some Australians on this call. What an amazing but strange creature. If a human sees that, they kind of know what it is, and you can kind of work out its purpose and what it's going to do. But if a computer, for example, saw that as an image recognition, it would be very confused. Is it a beaver? Is it a duck? Is it a chicken? I mean, what is it? And that's because computers need thousands, tens of thousands of the same piece of data or information in varying forms. So when it comes to power generation, you've got to think that actually, thankfully, the number of failures is not in the thousands, tens of thousands. So you can't use historic failures as a basis to learn. The second one, as a roadblocker to overcome, is physics. So the power generation industry, we are rightfully safety first. The plant must operate in the most safe, optimal way, not putting anybody's lives or injury at risk. Now, if you consider that, that means the tolerance level for accuracy goes up. If you take, for example, a retail sector, it's okay to be right 80% of the time. That's if you're clustering customers into groups. If you're right 80% of the time, that's okay. But in a power generation site, you really don't want to be right 80% of the time. You need to be in the high 90s because of the level of risk that's there. And then the third aspect is what I call the CEO brain, or the filter. The human brain has this amazing ability to filter out nonsense. So if I read something, and I don't know if there's any neurosurgeons on the line, but the human brain can take a thought and multiply it into 47,000 different options. Now, we don't, as humans, take all of that. Now, a computer will do very crude and direct things, and there's some famous studies in the retail sector actually where some data scientists identified that people bought nappies, diapers, and beer at the same time. So the most optimal thing to do is to put them next to each other on the supermarket shelves. Now, anyone with any common sense would tell you that's not a good idea, but the data said that's what people were doing, so that's what happened. And fortunately, that retail chain changed their approach. But this is the point, that the human CEO brain is a very powerful thing. So if you consider those three things of low context learning, physics, and the CEO brain or filter system, then actually the combination of digital, so in terms of pattern recognition, some level of automated diagnosis, combined with engineering expertise, is a way of obtaining value from digitalization. It's not a pure software thing. It is most definitely a combination of software plus the engineering expertise. And that's how we Uniper have approached it. And we've got, for most of our solutions, paybacks within 6 months. We've improved our availability. In terms of the European market, our assets have remained competitive while others have been closing due to the increase in renewables. And we've helped some clients around the world gain additional efficiencies of a whole %, or been able to get them through and extend outage periodicity to save significant money. So that combination of the data science, the machine learning, the AI, combined with an engineering expert, is, for me, how you can make quite a big difference. And if you don't do two together, then we often find that people struggle.
It's really interesting. I guess, you know, even though the data may say one thing, it's the analysis or the ability to analyze and put it into context that is so very, very important.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where we can't underestimate the expertise of people who have worked in this sector for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. These people, know what they're doing, but the digitalization side aids them in their job of being able to do more and better than what they've previously done.
And I suppose also to be able to focus on the things that are really important and hopefully automate kind of more routine tasks that perhaps don't need that same level of interpretation.
Absolutely.
Right. So, Evie, I'm actually going to ask you a question, and that is, how have you prioritized the rollout of the digital assets, and where do you anticipate seeing the biggest impact over the shortest period of time? Evie, are you still with us? I saw a meme the other day, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sure that you will all appreciate it. And it was, sorry, Evie, continue.
Excuse me, I'm still mute. Yeah. For prioritize the rollout of digital asset, I think first of all is first, I think the business process that must be considered a business process that are able to guarantee the existence and also sustainability growth of the company. First, we can map of the business process into the important performance metrics. I think business process that maybe be the priority. It must be the business process in the quadrant of high importance, whether high or low performance. Business processes of high importance and performance are the first priority, I think, to be digitized to maintain the existing performance. And then after that, for those with high importance but low performance, which aim to improve their performance, is also to become the second prioritized. Business process that have low importance will be rolled out later. To get the biggest impact for a short period of time, of course, it needs to be seen from the level of ease of implementation and the level of how big transaction or repetition of the business process, because the transaction and repetition make a bigger value. In the case of PLN, maybe, I think a digital case on revenue assurance could be the most prioritized. That's my opinion, Claire.
I completely agree there. And that actually, Ignatius, brings me to what I believe is your focus area, and that is the AMR rollout. So how has that helped to facilitate PLN's business, and what are the next steps in that process?
You ask me?
I've asked Ignatius, but perhaps you could answer that afterward, Evie.
Yeah, maybe Ignatius can answer first.
Right, Ignatius, it's over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Claire. I'm from Indonesia Comnet Plus. Indonesia Comnet Plus is one subsidiary company of PT PLN Persero that has the main duty in telecommunication and information technology that's to be provided for PLN. That we have a main role in digitalization of every business process of PLN. One of it is about transaction metering system that you just said is about advanced metering infrastructure. Advanced metering infrastructure is a new technology in metering of the energy flows from the generation side, transmission side, distribution side, and also directly to customers. And we have a lot of experience in doing this metering and energy transaction because we have the automatic meter reading technology that at the moment is already connected to 261,000 medium large customer for business and industrial. For the next stage, we have developed the new technology in advanced metering infrastructure. We have a new architecture of metering system architecture. We have developed the head-end system, also the meter data management system that can adopt, measure millions of customers into one system, from the residential up to the industrial. So by that technology, we can collect all the metering accurately, fast, and also precise. So the revenue of the PLN per zero of the company will be quite be ensured and improved. And also we do also by big data technology, we can monetizing the data of customers. So hopefully in the near future we can have revenue. We call it in PLN is a beyond kWh or beyond units of energy. In terms that we can the PT PLN per zero can have some more revenue instead of just selling electricity to customer. That's all. Claire, thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Evie, was there anything that you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think enough from Ignatius is very, very complete. Yeah.
Okay. And Surat, if I could ask from your perspective, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that question?
Okay, in my perspective, I think in the future, we will face a lot of the system. Right now, we operate. For example, we have around more than 800 systems operating in currently. But in the future, with the transformation, we will rush up to more than 1,000 systems. And the question is, with the huge number of the system, how we manage the change of the system? We have the legacy system, we have the upcoming system, how we manage the change of the system. And the second thing that we concern is, what is the system that brings us the new capability? Then in my point of view, we should think first about the capability of the business. What is the business capability that we need to achieve? For generation, for example, we need to achieve the performance management of the power plant, right? Then we should try to draw the capability first, and then come up with the data sets or the information set that we need to have. What is the critical data? And what is the information that we would like to have in the future? And then come up with the system analysis. The system analysis, in my opinion, is not to analyze the function of the system. What we need to draw the whole system. What is the system that we need to have? And what is the redundancy function? And what is the system that we can retire? Because it will out of date in terms of the technology. Then, in my point of view, we should start thinking about the architecture first, and then come up with the solution. We don't move forward with the solution leads. Okay, here's my point of view. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I turn the spotlight on to Johannes, who has been sitting there very quietly, I am going to require you to do some work. And we are going to be presenting you with a poll. So we do encourage you to answer the questions. And for this particular poll, the question is, how important are digital solutions to the future of power generation? So this is on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being not at all important, to 5 being critical to growth and survival. So that is, how important are digital solutions to the future of power generation? And I do encourage you to participate in the poll, ladies and gentlemen. It's always very interesting, I think, to see the kind of responses that we get from people. It does certainly provide a very interesting window into what the sector is seeing. So again, how important are digital solutions to the future of power generation? 1 being not at all and 5 being critical. Right, and now we are going to move into some of the questions that have been coming through from our audience. And I wanted to ask you, Johannes, if this is a question that you would be interested in giving some input into, and that is, how can digitalization help utilities increase renewable energy penetration and reduce grid instability and inefficiency?
Okay, thank you, Claire. It's very interesting question from audience. I will give an example from Sulawesi. Fortunately, we are in Sulawesi, already implemented a renewable energy about 30% of the total energy in Sulawesi. We can divide the renewable energy into 2 kinds of renewable energy. The first one, it comes from hydropower. The renewable energy is very good for the base load. And the second one, we got from intermittent renewable energy. We got it from wind turbine, or from PV. The problem for the system, if we got the renewable energy from intermittent renewable energy, because it can influence the system. It can disrupt the system because of the renewable activity of the renewable energy. That's why we need information from big data. We need weather forecast well. We need information about the load of the system, and we combine all the information through something like a big data to make sure that the intermittent renewable energy can be work well at the system. That's all my answer, Claire.
I suppose one of the biggest challenges is kind of integrating all these different elements into a single usable format. Pete, I'm going to ask you for your input on that. And Ignatius, is that something that you wanted to weigh in on as well? Yeah?
Yes, Claire. I just want to add Mr. Johannes Prislismono's opinions. Of course, the digitalization would directly impact how we can the utilities benefiting from renewable energy, because we can combine of all the power generation into one consolidated data that we can also compare it and always continuously compare it to the how big is the electricity load. So let's say, for example, the renewable energy coming from the solar PV rooftop, that all the customers that has solar PV rooftop on their homes, we can collect all the data, and we can have the amount of the power generated by the solar PV rooftop, and by looking at how big is the electricity load, so we can always control and balance between the power generation and the load itself. That's it. Maybe one little addition from me. Thank you.
I think that's a very important consideration, is the load balancing. Pete, from Uniper's perspective, you, I'm sure, have some experience with this.
Yeah, we do. So to maybe make that experience in context. So prior to the COVID pandemic, the UK was anything between 30% and 50% renewables penetration on the load versus generation basis. Post-COVID, we are now at some days 60%, 65% of the total capacity is provided by renewables. So that gives you a context of what's possible, and the same is similar in mainland Germany. Higher levels in Spain, lower levels in France because they're predominantly nuclear, but it just gives you an idea of what's possible. And what we've learned through this is the first thing, the most important thing here is we must take the renewables first. That goes without question. And to take the renewables first to help the world in its energy transition, there needs to be significant improvements, changes in how reliable or conventional assets operate. So that means a shift to flexible operations. And for countries and for people who are wondering about if flexible operations are coming for them, well, if you're already at about 12%, some of your units will need to flexibly operate. So if you're about 12% renewables penetration is when we start to see a shift in flexible operation. And if you're starting to stop thinking about getting more top-end megawatts and higher efficiencies at top end, you're already starting your flexible journey. So if that's the kind of physical constraining factor of getting those assets to change, digitalization plays a huge part in getting those assets to flexibly operate. So improving your start speeds, improving the efficiency of those, the safety of those, all of that is measurable stuff. And we've managed to take our coal-fired assets in the UK from 4 hours warm starts or 16-hour cold starts down to 2 hours warm starts, 4 hours cold starts, and saving about $25,000 a startup for light oil fuel assets on startup. And keep in mind, these assets now do over 100 starts per year, and they were built in the 1960s, not designed to do that. We physically changed them and put in the digitalization aspects. So you've got the data, but because you're changing your operation, you also need to change your maintenance regime. You also need to change your inspection regimes, and digitalization all adds to that. So the implementation of advanced condition monitoring allows you to extend out your outage periodicity because you've got extra safeguards in place. It allows you to understand, based on flexible operation, what is the temperature changes that has the ongoing impact on fatigue and creep of your metal life. So all those solutions come together to enable you to continue safe operation. And if we're to, in my opinion, help the world transition its energy and take the renewables first, as we rightly should do, all the traditional assets need to be retrofitted with digital solutions to enable this continued safe operation.
And that's because obviously these generation assets weren't originally designed to be on off, on off, on off. So
yeah.
What would your recommendation be if you are wanting to start this process, or if you've reached, you're getting to that 12%? I mean, how do you prioritize your first step in that process?
Yeah, what a top question. This is probably one of the most common questions I get asked. So if you're getting to around that 12% and you stop thinking about top end megawatts, the first thing you'll probably start thinking about is how do I lower my minimum load so I can continually safely operate, so I can then drop at night time or drop in the middle of the day if it's a high PV region, and then come back up in the evening when the sun goes down, or vice versa if it's a high industrial area. So when you're considering things like that, then you need to bring in advanced condition monitoring and thermodynamic modeling solutions, because if you're going to lower loads of operation, there is reasonable risk that you're going to put the asset under certain economic and environmental constraints, depending on what regulations you've got locally or geographically. So those would be the first two there. Then once you've got to lower minimum load, I guarantee you'll start thinking about, how do I increase my flexibility? How do I start coming off and starting faster? And that's when you bring in your broader performance tool sets to help your operators understand how to start faster. And you also then bring in things like changes in maintenance strategy. So taking your advanced condition monitoring, taking your traditional time-based approach and a run to failure approach for some components, working through every component, choosing the right strategy, and then acting that strategy over time. And in Uniper, we saved about 16% of our capex over a 3-year period when we went through this maintenance strategy review process. And keep in mind, Uniper spends about €1 billion per annum on capex. It gives you an idea of the kind of savings that we've achieved through these digital tools, combined with the engineering knowledge to enable safe operation.
Gentlemen, are there any of you that would like to add to this this question before I move on to the next one? I mean, I think it is a very important consideration, so I don't want to cut any of you short. So if you are interested, perhaps you could just raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to all the other questions that we've had coming in. Evie, I know you can't raise your hand, but you can just say, hi, I'm interested. Okay, I think what I am going to do then is I'm going to, there's a follow-on question that has come in, so I'm going to ask that. And you know what, Johannes, I'm going to ask this question of you, but if there is anybody else that would like to potentially answer this, please just, as I said, raise your hand. And that is, what is PLN's action plan to cope with the obstacles of implementing and increasing renewable energy penetration, and the missing data, considering the Indonesian government's target to increase renewables in the energy mix to 23% by 2025. So yeah, Johannes, I'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you, Claire. As the government target in 2025, the portion of the renewable energy in PLN should be 23%. So many action that PLN already have planned. We use PV panel, we use hydropower, and some of the action is use biomassa. Many renewable energy comes from we call it, just I already explained, intermittent or variable renewable energy, but I already explained that the problem for intermittent or variable renewable energy is about the variable of the load that can sent to the system. That's why if we want to implement a variable or intermittent renewable energy, we should add some battery at the system to cope the problem, especially for the ramping up or ramping down of the renewable energy. That's all, clear.
All right, thank you very much. Ignatius, I have a question for you, and that is, how is PLN or Icon Plus able to select the right technology for AMI smart grid implementation? What are the most critical factors to consider? And will it be possible to implement technologies from foreign countries?
Okay, thank you, Claire. Thank you very much for the question. Maybe my answer would also complemented what Mr. Johannes has giving his opinion about this. Icon Plus also has the responsibility to provide PLN with the solution of the problems in how PLN can adopt renewable energy to the system. At present times, PLN technology usually use energy balance sheet to control or to prepare all the power generation daily to observe how big is the electricity load that forecasted to happen that day or that hours. In this case, PLN has to provide the system with very good, very accurate, very fast, and very precise smart grid system that can collect all the analog measurement data from all power generation and all the electricity substations, and also from the customers of the how big is the electricity load. And ICON has to be responsible to create the digitization of those the data. If the data the power generation on the power generation side is still in analog data, convert it into a digital data, so the data can be transmitted directly, very fast and precise into one monitoring system, one control system, that all the energy balance sheet or all the energy balance scheme system can always control and manage the balance condition between the power generation and also the renewable energy power plant. In that case, the system of electricity should be maintained in stable condition, continuous and reliable. That's why if your question is about how I can choose the right technology of smart grid, of course, in the first thing, ICON has to very accurately choosing how we can build, how we can develop the management data management system control, data management system processor that can be able to collect, to receive all the data from all the power generation side, transmission side, the substations RTUs, and also from the big customers, and also from all the distribution customers, all the customers that connected into distribution substation into one, and can be analyzed by using analytics by using big data consideration, so we can have a precise and accurate control of the system. That's it. Claire, maybe. So this is the one of the duties that should be taken care by Icon Plus. Thank you.
All right. Pete, just if I could ask you, perhaps with regards to this, I mean, how do you integrate all these incredibly disparate forms of data, particularly analog and digital data, into a usable system?
Yeah, so if let's take a comparison of like vibration measurements. Pretty sure there'll be some vibration experts here, and plant process data. So one is dynamic data, which is the vibration data, so waveforms, spectral analysis, etc. And the other one is actually quite static. So take like a pump, for example, is a good example of a combination of vibration and static data. So you've got the static data of temperature, pressure at a certain point in time, and then the vibration is your waveform. Now, in those two cases, they're two very different data set types with different characteristics. You must follow and use two different approaches. So spectral analysis is well understood, well established in the vibration space. You can use some image recognition stuff with regards to video films, expansion of that, or on the actual plots that get drawn out with the ellipses and circles, etc., from the vibration measurements. But then the static data, you should use things like pattern recognition, nearest neighbor clustering methods to identify. And once you've kind of taken that data, done some analysis, and you're starting to now turn that into information, all of this is done by computers, you then can provide that to an engineer as a combination of the two. You're one saying we've got changes in the phasing of vibration plus a high temperature. Well, those two things combined together would tell you, in the case of, let's say, we have a case study with a gas turbine where we picked up a step change in vibration and an increase in the temperature of the first bearing. That combined information told us effectively that the blades had shifted up in the gas turbine and they'd lost mass from cutting off on the top of the casing. You can only do that because you've got the combination of the two. And it was through those two different methods that an engineer could say, actually, this is the answer to those two things. So in summary, look at the data, look at the problem, and then use the right machine learning AI method for that to turn that into some actionable insight for an engineer. And then the engineer can then take action on plant or centrally if you have an asset management organization, or an O&M partner towards the asset.
Okay, thanks very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to do some work now. So we've got another poll for you. But before we start that poll, I would like to ask my speakers if you could prepare or just think about a closing statement that you would like to make. We have got about 8 minutes before we need to end the webinar. So I would like you all to just have the opportunity to make some sort of closing statement. And we will activate the poll now. And the question for the poll is, have you struggled to get value from digital solutions? So again, that is, have you struggled to get value from digital solutions? And the answers are yes and or no, preferably not yes and no. So that is, yeah, have you struggled to get value from digital solutions? Yes or no? While that poll is still up, I would like to just mention, ladies and gentlemen, that The recording of today's webinar will be available on demand via the link that you use to access today's webinar, or via the Enlit Asia or Smart Energy International websites. And also don't forget that Enlit Asia is taking place as a live event next year from the 23rd to the 25th of March in Jakarta. So please do visit the website to find out more about that. Right, so Ignatius, I'm going to ask you if you could perhaps just give a closing statement for our audience.
Yes, thank you, Claire. Once again, this is the right time. This is the right period for the most of the utilities in Asia, in the world, that we have to prepare to enter digitalization era of the energy utilities that perform in electricity or energy business. And Icon Plus, one of the subsidiary of PLN, we always try our best to specialize the technology. We have to. We always have the. We always have our doing our efforts, our best effort to mastering the technology to provide solution for PLN. And one of the important here is the human resources. So in the near future, Icon Plus will have prepared all the new engineers in information technology, communication, and energy to be ready enough to support PLN for the digital transformation process. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Ignatius. Johannes, your input and your final statement.
Okay, thank you, Claire. I just want to mention that the important thing, if we want to implement digital technology, we should notice that the right technology for the right place. In our experience, some places, especially in the remote, in the small places, do not need the very high level technology of the digital because it's very costly. So we should implement step by step based on the requirement of the system. The second one, if we want to implement the digital technology, we should prepare the people, because the culture to implement the technology is very difficult. It's more difficult to make the people as a digital community than to build a digital system itself. The third one is about if we want to move or to make a transition to become a digital business process, it not copy your manual system to the digital model system, but you should design a new kind of the business process that's suitable for the digital system. That's all my answer, Claire.
You've raised some really, really important points here, and things that I wish we had more chance to explore. Human resources is obviously hugely important, and I think that cultural change that comes with a completely new way of doing things is really important. But I think particularly, and I think Pete, I don't know if you want to comment on this as you do your closing, is that you can't take an analog or a paper-based system or your existing legacy system and just make it digital. you almost need to recreate the system with a digital first perspective in mind. So Pete, perhaps you could comment on that and give us your closing thoughts.
Yeah, yeah, Hannah, spot on in for me in terms of what I would call use cases. So assets should have things that are of value to them. So even in our own fleet, our clients, not everyone has the same set of solutions. They have the right ones that give them value. And that's because there's no point putting the same solution on every single asset, because different assets operate in different ways for different markets. So choose your use cases wisely to get the benefits. I completely agree with that. And if you choose the use cases wisely, the cultural change is easier because the people can see the benefits. It's not additional work that's not going to necessarily give them value. Doesn't make it easy, it's just easier, the change management side, which is always hard. The other thing is, I think digitalization, the world of Microsoft, Facebook, Google, etc., they've made a lot of people believe this is really easy because what they offer to us as an end product is really easy to use. But the reality is the implementation, the development to get to that easy point is really hard, like really, really hard. And that you can see from Uniper's history. We've done this for 25 years. We've learned a lot of mistakes, a lot of positive things, a lot of unplanned things that turned out positive. But assuming you can transform your business in a couple of years digitally is naive. And pulling on the expertise of those who've made the mistakes and companies that have got the experience is a good way to accelerate those. So I think we could maybe do what we've done in 25 years now in 10 years, knowing what we've done. So digitalization's hard. There isn't an easy way through. Choose your use cases and work with people who have already been there and learned from past experience to get there faster.
All very, very valuable points. Surat, from your perspective, what is your closing statement?
Okay, thank you so much. For my experience, I think the digital transformation is really important for all utility as well as the PLN. I advise PLN to do at least 3 things. The first thing is they should think about changing the digital journey to be more visibility. Visibility, what I mean is you should figure out the business capability or business architecture first. What is the area that the digital shall improve your efficiency and productivity in terms of the business requirement? And the area of the data architecture or the data capability. Because in power utility, we change the way that we do. In the past, we do the business with the assets first. But today we will change to be data-driven business. Then you need to have the data sets or the master data of your organization. Then you can gain from the data analytics. What is the data that you can leverage to be more benefit data? And the second area that I think PLN should have is the standard governance in terms of the digital governance. Because when we do the business and we insert the technology, sometimes we cannot do the things that we plan. How we govern this situation. For example, during the past, we faced the problem of the COVID situation, right? Then they have some problem in the budgetary and how we govern and how we change the strategy and how we change the implementation plan. At least 2 things. And the last thing that I would like to give to PLNs, with the digital organization or with the digital transformation, they should have the unit, like we call the Center of Excellence, to take care of this project because it's very huge project and it's very important for PLN. Okay, that is my closing talk. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Surat, thank you very much. And Evie, certainly last, but again, not least, your closing statement.
Okay, Claire. I think from my point of view, some point that I want to emphasize before implement digital technology in utility company is first, we must know detailed understanding of our existing business process and also the objective of implementing this new technology, this new digital technology. And the second one is we must evaluate the capability of our human resources to implement and also to handle new digital-based business processes. The third one, we must prepare the roadmap and also the transition period for change that without disturbing the existing performance, because it's very important to maintain the performance. And the last, because change is always bring risk, always calculate the risk that may be arise and mitigate it. Go digital and be safe. This my closing remark. Thank you, Claire.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. I think that there have been a number of really important points that were raised today. I think it's about finding the right technology for the area and for your business case. You know, technology is great, but if it's not the right technology, it's not going to work. And obviously, digitalization isn't easy, so make sure that you're working with partners who have been through this process before. HR and the human element of any digitalization process also shouldn't be overlooked. So on behalf of Enlit Asia, PLN, and our episode sponsor, Uniper, I would really like to thank today's panel for sharing their very valuable insights with us. Ignatius, Johannes, Evie, Surat, and Pete, thank you so much for being with us. I would again like to remind you that today's recording will be available on demand on the Enlit Asia or Smart Energy International website. Episode 4 of the Indonesia series, hosted by PLN, which is around PLN's smart grid strategy, is taking place on the 26th of August, which is open on the Enlit Asia. Please do be sure to sign up for that if you are interested in what else this amazing transformation strategy is going to look like. From me, Claire Falkvane, please stay safe and keep well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Claire. Pete.
Thank you.
Bye.